En tu próximo libro tú hablas de cómo una parte, no toda, pero una parte de la comunidad LGBT está buscando la liberación sexual de los niños. ¿Cómo es eso? ¿Qué significa eso?
Well, this is a complicated subject because most people are aware today of everything that's going on in the LGBTQ community. And we see the activism everywhere that we go. And most people are also aware that there's a lot of targeting of children in that, in terms of children's entertainment and pride parades that are billed as family friendly. There are lots of different ways that LGBTQ content is being presented to kids. Most Christians and non-Christians assume that that's just because, of course, if activists are looking for acceptance of certain types of morality, that they want that also from kids. But there is a subset of activists in the community, and I want to emphasize this is not all, but there is a subset who are actually not just looking for acceptance amongst kids, but are looking for the sexual liberation of children. And what that means is that they want there to be no more of these societal taboos, these norms and these values and these expectations that say, hey, there's childhood innocence. Children shouldn't be involved in this. There should be no sexuality around children. Overwhelmingly, our culture still does believe that there should be no sexualization of children. And so we have not gotten all the way down that path yet, but there is a subset of activists who want to make it so that all of those boundaries are removed. And this has been something that has been building over the last 100 years. This is not a sudden development. It actually started with Freud when he redefined the identity of mankind as being sexual in nature. And if you think about that, if our identity as human beings is sexual in nature primarily, well, that includes newborn human beings. It includes newborns. It includes toddlers. At every stage of life, people are inherently just sexual beings. That's the identity, right? So it makes sense that activists are starting to look at this and saying, okay, well then at every stage of life, if we're a sexual being, that includes being a young child. And the only reason that children aren't involved in sexual pleasure in some way is because there are certain societal norms. There are certain expectations and values that go along with this that say, hey, don't touch a child's innocence. But there are a lot of people today, especially those who promote what's called queer theory in particular, who want to say that, hey, there are no norms. There are no norms around gender and sexuality. There's no binary. There's no female and male binary. There's no heterosexual norm that should be in place. All of these things are just put on people by society. So they want to remove all of these norms. And when you remove norms around gender, you remove norms around sexuality, well, of course, that also means you're going to remove any norms that involved children and sexuality. And this is not just me taking this to its logical conclusion where no one's actually saying this. There are plenty of people who are actually saying this, who want to remove the concept of childhood innocence. And in my book, When Culture Hates You, I talk about some of those people and how they're promoting that through their works. But it's important for Christians to understand this is a whole new development. This is not just let's get acceptance with young kids of LGBTQ ideas for when they get older. This is let's actually remove any norms around not touching children in any kind of sexual sense because we want to liberate children from their own sexuality. I really believe this is going to be the next major issue in the sexual revolution.